they made it too convenient, and we've done that on purpose. The more palatable it is, the more we want to eat it. The more convenient it is, the more of it we're going to eat. And we're getting to the point now where it used to be that religion was the opiate of the masses. And now I think it's not religion anymore, because we've fallen away from religion. And now I think it's food is the opiate of the masses, because it actually creates an opiate release or a dopaminergic response that's pretty evident. And so my approach to patients is to get them to understand that food is hyper addictive, and that's also how I'm managing their pain. And that's why I'm boarded in addiction. So food is addictive. And once you understand that, you can then start to modify your behavior with food and get that to work better.
Next question is, what foods do you find from experience that most of your patients are addicted to? It probably varies from person to person. And processed foods, fructose. But are there any other types of food that you find some of your patients are addicted to?
Well, I mean, they're all addicted to the things that are advertised. This is all driven by advertising. And so we're being manipulated into eating things that we have no business eating. In the United States, the large cereal manufacturers pay large amounts of money to the medical associations to give them symbology that they can put on their food that says it's heart healthy. And so that symbology then confuses the consumer into thinking, well, I can eat all of this. So I'll give you a classic example. I had a patient who was an immigrant to the United States. They're from Bosnia. And she could not for the life of her understand why she had come to the United States. She was very thin. And within 2 years, she was morbidly obese. And she was doing everything she could to get the weight off, but she couldn't do it. There was no way. And everything that she tried, the weight kept getting worse. And so finally, we had her keep a food diary, and it didn't tell me much. So I sat down with her. I said, look, you kept this food diary. It looks pretty good. It looks like you're eating whole food, and none of it has a ton of sugar in it. Let's go through your day. And we went through her day, and it quickly became evident that she was eating about three bowls of cereal a day that she wasn't putting in her food diary because it was heart healthy. It was the Cheerios that she was eating with milk, and she thought that milk was giving her vitamin D, and she thought that the Cheerios were heart healthy, so that she didn't consider something that she had to write down. She wrote down all the other stuff that she was doing, but she didn't put that down, because that had been marketed to her as some sort of ethereal thing that was beyond food. It was heart healthy. That's not something that you would think that you would have to worry about. And in fact, that was the thing that was getting her. So as soon as we got her off of her cereal, she promptly started losing a ton of weight. And it took us about a year. And we got her back to near ideal body weight. I mean, she was relatively short. She's about 5'2". And when she came into me, she weighed well over 250 pounds. And we got her down to about 125, 130, and it took us about a year. And it was simply from the cereal and sugar and milk that she was consuming that she thought was good for her. So it's every person, it depends on their media consumption. The different types of media that they've consumed or been exposed to really informs them on what they should eat, what they think they should eat. I also find, though, that if they go to a dietitian, in the United States, a lot of them are trained by big agro. That's the largest funders of nutritional programs. And so sometimes some of them misinterpret that processed food is healthy. I mean, just because it has 0 or low carbohydrate doesn't mean it's healthy if it's a processed refined food. There's all kinds of other compounds in processed refined food that has serious impact on glycemic index, has serious impact on gut health, has serious impact on absorption. And the other thing is that just because something says it has 20 grams of a protein, the way that we measure protein is by nitrogen. Well, I can make anything have 20 grams of protein. Sawdust can have 20 grams of nitrogen if I add some urea to it, but it's not real protein. And so you have to keep in mind that sometimes people tell you they're eating healthy things and it would look like they are, but they're not. And then they completely ignore gut health. People think that peanuts are healthy, so they think peanut butter is healthy, but they don't realize there's sugar added, and they may not realize that frequently peanuts are grown in soil that the previous year was grown with cotton, and they spray the cotton with insecticide and herbicide, but they don't spray the peanuts. But the peanuts are soil based, and it picks up the herbicide, pesticide from the soil, from the cotton from the previous year. And when you cycle that a few times, cotton, peanut, cotton, peanut, cotton, peanut, by the fifth or sixth generation of peanut, you have a hyper concentrated pesticide enriched peanut. And so those are the kind of things that you have to delve into. Each patient's a little bit different. Each patient's a bit of a puzzle, and putting it into the context of their gut health is really important. And but like you said, the most common thing is they're just eating too much sugar. They're just eating way too much sugar, and they're typically not realizing it. It's hidden sugar, because they wouldn't go out and sit in front of a bowl of sugar and take a tablespoon of it and put it in their mouth. That doesn't seem very palatable. But if you use a little bit of seduction and you put it into fruit, or you put it into something else, or you put it into something that's apparently healthy, you can get people to eat all kinds of things.
Whole wheat flour.
Yeah, exactly. And you shouldn't be eating any flour. So, I mean, I would tell you that the vast majority of patients, they don't have celiac sprue, but the vast majority of human beings have zonulin defects when they're exposed to flour, when they're exposed to the gluten and gliadin in flour. And so the vast majority of people will have some response. Some people are relatively resistant to that response, but some people are not. In the US, about a third to half the people have some degree of significant daily anxiety. Well, how much of that is related to their dietary intake? How much of that is affecting their heart rate variability? How much of that is causing a major portion of the depression? Dr. Chris Palmer just recently came up with a book on this. And, I met Chris. He's an awesome writer, and he's in this field of psychiatric dietetics. And, there's a lot of stuff that's in that. There's nothing new in there, but he's brought it together so beautifully and so elegantly that maybe people will be able to consume it in a more informed way.